Happy Sunday. Happy to be here, right? No place you'd rather be? Oh, God, okay. All right, session 3. We're set up. Let's talk. Recap. Last week's session, there was one big thing we talked about, okay? Anybody remember what it is? Remember anything we talked about last week? Result driven. Yeah. Yeah, the goal, right? So we said the goal is to win, okay? That's an outcome goal. So today's quote that I brought up here, read that for a second. If we aim too intensely for the target, we will neglect the process and the art required to hit it. Awa Kenzo, 20th century master archer from Japan. So that's 1900s for those of you who don't understand that. Okay? If we focus 20% on being a champion and spend the other 80% on getting better today, step by step, you're going to see yourself getting closer to that result that you want, that outcome that you want, right? We've established it now. We want to win, right? And we want to win the championship. We want to be a state champion. Okay, now put it away. You've put it in the GPS. Let's get there. Okay, that's what we talked about a little bit last week. All right, and more than anything, enjoy the process of becoming a champion. Okay, because the time you spend being a champion versus the time you spend preparing to be a champion, significantly different, right? And today's part of that process. Okay. What else did we talk about? You remember? Remember, we're answering these questions, right? Why? Yeah. Why? Yeah. Why do you do this? Right? What's your purpose? Is ultimately what we were trying to get at there. Okay. And this needs work, right? That's kind of what I discovered last week, and hopefully you discovered. Is answering that question needs work, and it's a question that you don't always ask yourself. It's just what I do, coach. It's just what I love to do. I don't know why. I just show up and do it, right? Okay. And that's not a terrible answer. It's natural to you, hopefully, but you got to think about it a little bit, right? Your why needs to be bigger than you, and it needs to be bigger than winning as well, because like I just said, winning it comes and goes quickly, right? Got a game tomorrow. Season starts tomorrow. First Baptist over at Lucy Beckham. I'm excited for you, by the way. Hopefully you're excited. I plan on making it to at least one of those games, if not both. You win that game, right? That feeling, the immediate feeling, is there in that moment, in those few seconds. That buzzer goes off, we win, handshake. Okay? And then as time passes from that victory, it starts to die and fade away more and more and more. And in the case of tomorrow, you win that game and you just go by real quick, because same time on Tuesday, you're playing another basketball game, right? So the feeling of winning is very short. It's a snap of a finger, okay? And the feeling of being a champion is one that it can last longer, right? And that's the cool part about it. And that's why you want to be a champion too, is no matter what happens from then on out, that can never be taken from you, right? In a sense, you're kind of like an infinite winner. And that's a big reason why athletes want to be champions. And that is a good reason. There is something to that. But unless it's the very last time you ever play basketball and you never compete in another sport again, you're probably going to get right back up and start competing for something else all over again, even when you win a championship. And I know that from the baseball perspective and baseball side of things. We win, we dogpile, we're champions, and there's moments after that we celebrate that. But really, frankly, especially as a coach, it immediately goes into, all right, now next season. Now what's next? And now what's next? And now what's next? So there is no end to this whole competition thing, right? So let winning drive you, but also understand it can't be your sole purpose, because we're always just competing and trying to win all the time, over and over again. So, and ultimately, too, we address this. You don't have complete control over winning, and that's why it can't be your sole purpose, right? It can be one of your reasons for playing this game, but you don't have total control over it, right? There's a lot of outside factors and influences that can take that from you, all right? Especially winning the ultimate thing, which is the state championship. And if that's your sole reason for playing, then that is a very unfulfilling reason for playing, right? And it can end with heartbreak. It ends in heartbreak for most teams and most players. So that can't be the only reason that you do this and why you're showing up on Sunday at 3:30 during your Thanksgiving break. It's got to be for more. Okay, so think about that a little bit. All right, so y'all had Ridgeview on Thursday night, right? Talk to me. Don't talk to me, actually. Don't. That's why you got the cards. Talk to me in a minute. Everybody got a pen? Okay. I know it's tough right on an index card on your leg, but it's the best we can do. I was planning on using the classroom. What I want you to do right here, okay, is I want you to address 3 things from Friday night. Tell me something that went well from Friday night. This can be from an individual standpoint or a team standpoint. All right. Tell me something that needs to improve, something you learned from Thursday night. Again, individual or team. And how can we get anything out of that experience that is Thursday night on the road at Bridgeview? Yeah, if y'all need to lay on the ground, go for it. The pins work. It's just that they need something to push against. I might order some clipboards. Right here, man. What went well Thursday night? What could be better? And how? How are we going to get better from that experience? Amen. We're reflecting real quick on Thursday night. What went well? What needs to be better? How can we get something from it? All right. As we start to wrap up here, we'll start talking about it. Okay. Now, before we get into this, I asked you guys on that first day several questions, right? One of the questions that I asked you was, what do I need to know about this team? One of the answers, or part of one of the answers was, we need to communicate more. Okay. So that's a big part of what we're about to do here and what we're doing. And I mentioned it a little bit, okay, but this is the purest form of it. Reflecting is a really big part of mental performance. Checking in with what just happened before we move on, okay? And it's a bit of like, it's kind of counterintuitive because in a sense we're looking back on the past, but you need to do that to a degree so that you can be present. And then you set kind of your eyes forward for the future. How can we take a scrimmage at Ridgeview from the past, implement it for our future so that we can be completely present today for practice and get something out of it? So there's a review process that's going on here, a reflection process, but more than anything, the communication now is going to happen. Okay, and the communication, you guys have had no issues talking during these sessions and talking with each other and arguing with each other in a loving way, I'm sure, right? But we're going to reflect throughout the season, week by week. We're going to reflect on the week that was, and it's a chance for you guys to communicate exactly how you feel, what you think about the performance, all right, and where the team is at, and how it can improve, how you can improve, how you can contribute, etc. Okay, so let's roll through this real quick. Who wants to start? Let's just go in order. You got anything? Were you there Thursday night? No. All right. Go ahead.
I say what went well was we didn't back down from the competition, so like nobody was really scared or anything like that. And what we need to do better is our execution and effort. Our effort could have been way better than it was. And how can we improve this experience? It just starts in practice where we gotta keep communicating with each other and coming to practice with the energy and effort.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I'd say good energy for that went well. And then we need to make our layups. That's what we need to do better. And then improve this experience now, but like play hard.
Play hard. Did we not play hard enough Thursday night?
We should. I mean, we lost.
Okay. Doesn't matter. Let's Matthew. You go first. Go ahead. Yeah, Matthew.
I said what went well. I said personally, I feel like I rebounded a little bit better than the scrimmage before. I said we need to play like more physical, be a little better with that. And then things we need to improve on, I would say, is like focus on like executing like what we practice. So like being in the stance, being in our places, and like the drives and sliding and all that stuff.
Okay. Now, we're only a few people into this, and this is something that I see very common. It happens a lot with teams. No problems addressing the well, no problems in addressing the better, but the how part is the one that kind of trips players up. And sometimes I go, this is where coaches step in. It's the coach's job a lot of times to answer the how. All right, now how are we going to improve? But that's also part of this is to get you to think like a coach, right? Start thinking like a coach, even though you're not one. Think like one. That creates leadership and it creates a better understanding for the game. Because most coaches of any sport often find that they know and learn a lot more about the sport once they're done playing and they do become a coach. So if you can start to think like a coach as a player, it comes back to a theme that I'm going to keep on hitting with you guys is being different. Right? You want to be different than the opponent. You want to be different than all these teams who say they also want to win a state championship, like Ridgeview, who's done it a lot. You want to be different than them. Can you think like a coach? Right? And imagine if you've got 10, 11, 12 coaches all on the court, guiding and leading each other. And then the actual coaches just get to sit back, watch, and enjoy. Okay, but the how. Try to answer the how question. It's one thing to point out what the problem is. What's the solution? Okay? Go ahead. We'll go back row, y'all three, and then we'll come back up to the front. Okay. Sounds, I've talked to a couple of you guys, and I've heard already, like, Thursday night, it sounded like they just still kind of own the court a little bit, physically, presence-wise. Are they more physical than you? They a bigger, stronger group?
No, we just like we were playing physical. It's like we gotta learn how to play physical within the rules. Because by the time we playing physical, we just keep getting fouls.
Yeah, that's true too. Walking that line a little bit, yeah. But is that not? To me, it sounds like that might be a mentality thing, right? And you got a demon, you got to conquer in Ridgeview, right? And that is part of what it was. It's when a team is free, loose, and easy and has learned how to become a champion. That's what they will do on the court. Is they're not afraid to bully you around because they know they can. It's up to you guys to change that narrative, right? And how do you respond when you are getting bullied a little bit? Okay. Do you get punched, knocked down, and you stay down, or do you punch twice as hard, right? Can you last longer than them too? Who's got the strongest jaw, not who's got the strongest punch? Champions like that, teams at the top, you just got to show them that we're never going anywhere, and then things start to change. You just got to force the doubt out of them and force the pressure into them. Most teams don't even force that because they come into that gym assuming that's what's going to happen. You have to start asking the questions of them, not the other way around, okay? Keep going to the back.
I said what went well is that we fought hard, like regardless of what we were down. Like I think at one point we were down in the 20s. We still fought hard. We ended up having a really good fourth quarter. We only I think we beat them by like 12 points in the fourth quarter. What needs to be better is our grit and physicality. Kind of like what Mel was saying is like our physicality is good. We're playing physical, but we're not playing physical the correct way. We need to play physical rules of games where we're bullying teams without fouling out. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then how can we improve? Is we play more physical and bully every team within the rules of the game. We have the strength to do it. We just have to buy into it.
Okay, good.
Well, we put effort and energy. So far, needs to be better. Our effort, our physicality, our communication, and how we do that is talking more, practice, start to practice, and being more physical practice.
Okay.
I said one thing that went well was the mindset before the game. I didn't think anyone was necessarily like scared to play them, even though we've lost them before. That was an overall good team mindset. What needs to be better? I said execution. I think that was a big flaw throughout the game. Just everything seemed all over the place. So that I thought that was the main reason we lost. And then how can we improve? I said buying to doing the right things on and off the court, and also like coming together more, like through hard like situations.
Okay, good.
What went well, I scored. Needs to be better. Team defense. I can improve from this experience. You just gotta get up, all up on him, Like, you gotta keep pushing him around.
Okay.
What went well is improving from the previous games. No matter that we lost, we did improve. So that was really well. And what it needs to be better is scoring consistently and executing on the offensive side more. Because I truly don't think our defense was bad. They just out dominantly scored more than us. So that's what we can do better on. And how can we improve that? Is being more dominant in practice and consistently scoring the ball the correct way in practice, because that's where at the end of the day, that's where all that starts at.
Okay. Josh?
I said we worked well. Felt like we gave effort, some energy, but we lacked execution and total communication, like the whole team communicated. I said what needs to be better would be execution and physicality. Like we may have executed with physicality on the defensive end sometimes, but on offense, when you face us back with that same physicality, we weren't really able to execute our plays and do what we wanted to do. So I felt like we need to work on that. And how can we improve this? Our mindset and our determination to get the win at all costs for the team, not just for ourselves.
Okay. Last one?
For me, what went well, I thought back to like last year at Miller State, and I thought we had like a hard time getting the ball up the court because they would press us the whole game. And Parker would be taking it up the court and throwing it together like all around and stuff. So I thought, we did a good job of that, managing their pressure. And what needs to be better, we missed a lot of layups. And a lot of times when we did get the ball past half court, we weren't really executing our plays all the way through. So execution was the biggest thing. And then how can we improve from this experience? Our effort could have been better. So I think improving from it, we need to treat every game like it's our last game.
Okay. And that's a well, better, how. That's what we call it. Well, better, how. Positive, something you need to improve, right? Not something you sucked at, not something that we suck at, but what we need to improve and how. How are we going to go about it? How are we going to get anything out of that experience? And every person in this room just spoke. So if communication is one of those things we need to improve, whether it be literally on the court or off the court, we just improved it, right? And everybody in here expressed their thoughts from Thursday night scrimmage against Ridgeview. Maybe you noticed some things too, right? There's some recurring patterns. Some of you guys kept saying some of the same things. So hopefully we're on the same page now. We know what we're good at going into tomorrow. We know what we need to work on going into tomorrow. And then there's also maybe some standouts, some different things that are said. And you get an insight into how your teammates are thinking a little bit. And maybe if there's something that was said that's a little different or unexpected, is there a way that you guys can then communicate about it? Whether it's something you agree with or disagree with, can we all get on the same page somehow, some way? So with that, your homework for this week, Thanksgiving break, is you got a week to get a journal, okay? This is what a really nice journal looks like. If you want to get one of these, Amazon's a magical place. You can find one. You could get just a binder. You could get a little notebook from Harris Teeter, whatever. I don't care. Some kind of little book that you can carry with you, keep in your bag, keep a pen handy, okay? And I want you at the end of every week, we'll say this for now, at the end of every week, I want you to reflect on the week that was. Whether you have 1 game, 2 games, 5 games, tournament, whatever. By the end of the week, Sunday's a good day for reflection too, right? Sundays maybe, get into a habit, into a routine that builds discipline. This is part of your process of reflecting on the week that was, and then we can discuss it in the following meeting, very next week, which will probably be on a Tuesday, maybe Monday, Wednesday, early in that week, okay? That's how that works. All right, so to wrap this thing up, I was looking today. I went through your index cards. I was reading some of it. I read all of it, actually. And the question that I asked about mental performance, what is it? I think that's the one that got the most interesting answers for me. So I'm going to let that guide me a little bit over the next few weeks. So there's 2 that I want to talk about right here. Okay, your definitions of mental performance. One of you said mental performance is staying mentally in control of your emotions and the ability to turn it on and off. And somebody else said working on how composed you can learn to be mentally. So some of these I have to translate a little bit. So in translation, what I read there is mental performance is about improving composure. So let me give you, what is composure? Can you define composure? Calm. In one word, yeah, calm. I like to define things sometimes. I like when we have these words that we use all the time, especially athletes and teams. There's these words and these phrases we use all the time, but it's like, do we actually really know what they mean? Definition of composure is the state or feeling of being calm and in control of one's self. So the definition there kind of addresses both of those quotes, both of those answers from you guys. Yes, 100% we will work on control and mental performance because, frankly, we're not in control of much in life. And so what I'm going to help you do and what I want you to see in basketball is if you can just bring your focus, your attention, your energy, and your emotions to the few things you do have control over, now you are maximizing the potential that you have as an individual and we have as a group. So many players and so many teams get lost in things that when you really break it down, you don't have control over it. So why in the hell do we exhaust ourselves emotionally, mentally, and physically with things that we don't have control over? We do. I do it. I'm a victim of it. We're human. We all have our flaws. We make mistakes, right? But that's one of the biggest mistakes that I think athletes make, that if they can see that and notice and start to adjust from it, if we talk about wanting to be free and loose, you can really become free and loose when you go, did I control the controllables today? In this game, did I control what I have control over? If the answer is yes, then now we're talking about having confidence, even if the results didn't exactly go the way we want them to. Okay, and maybe you could argue that was Ridgeview Thursday night a little bit. It sounds like most of the things that we have control over, for the most part, we did pretty well with. Not perfect, but for the most part. So we can be, to a degree, satisfied. You know, it wasn't an A+, but it wasn't a failing grade. But did you get the result? You lost, right? You lost the scrimmage still. But part of probably why we're not sitting in here, I know it was also a scrimmage, but part of the reason why you're probably not all woe is me right now is because you understand that for the most part, we control what we can control, and they just beat us, even though we were playing pretty well, right? So now if we can close that gap, one of the things you guys mentioned is the things we need to improve upon, now we're really maximizing what we have control over. And still, again, you played Ridgeview again, playing the state championship. If you do all those things and they still get the edge, it's heartbreak, right? It sucks. I succeeded. We succeeded because we did everything in our power. That's the biggest thing for me with mental performance, is making sure that you aren't the one who hurts you, getting you out of your own way and maximizing the potential you have. If you can just defeat the enemies within, right, a lot of times teams and athletes, they succeed, right? Emotions, they can be controlled. And that's the fun part about basketball. Well, I'm excited to work with you guys in particular, is it's such an emotionally charged environment. Those gyms get loud and it's quick and it's packed and it's chaos, but can it be controlled chaos? And can you play the game with just the right amount of emotion? Because there is an on and off switch, and we will learn how to flip that switch on and off. The best can do it. The champions can do it. They know how to use their emotions to their advantage, and they know when it's the right time for emotion and when it's the wrong time for emotion. I think that mental performance is the flashlight in the dark, right? Sometimes we get in the dark when we are in that chaos. Can mental performance guide you back to that on and off switch, and let's flip the light on, all right, and have that clarity, have that composure in those hostile environments, the most intense, pressure-packed environments. Last thing, success leaves clues. What does that mean? Any guesses? Success leaves clues. Yeah, right. If you want to improve your mental game, just study the best. That's all that's this whole thing for me, and my love for mental performance is just, I love studying sports, winning and losing, but especially the winning. And I like to find the patterns in the winners in all sports, and there are patterns, right? Those who succeed, whether they mean to or not, they leave clues with what they do, okay? And I've also mentioned before, too, you've got to be a champion, right? I mean, you've got to be different to be a champion. I've said that several times. Who won the NBA Finals last year? Oklahoma City. Okay, Oklahoma City Thunder were different in 2025, and I think this will be your proof.
Rift, not only into the future or into the past, it impacts your ability to stack the next thing. And so we try to stay very disciplined to that.
Who doesn't stay disciplined to that is the media. If you listen to the post-game pressers, just pay attention to how many questions are future-based or past-based. Nothing with the right now. Here's a great example of that.
Shay, with the individual accomplishments you've had this season, MVP, leading scoring, the team accomplishments, you're a win away from putting the finishing touches on a season that's like in these special categories historically. How do you wrap your mind around that? Focusing on Game 6.
Isn't that incredible? If you want your team to be in the present, you have to be in the present. Here's how Mark trained that with them.
And Mark, you just mentioned it right there, but be in the present moment. It's something that your players often talk about, that kind of be where your feet are mentality. Is there anything you can share about, not just the saying there, but how you all actually have implemented that in your routine, or maybe even back in training camp, how you kind of get that, install that presence within the players?
I think it's just, attacking every day, attacking every rep, attacking every possession, and trying to make that a habit, and understanding the compounding nature of that and the impact of that when you do that. And these are guys that have seen success taking that approach. So, when you do something and then you find success doing it, it reinforces it and it breeds commitment.
And so it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's training them that what is in front of you right now is the most important thing. And here's what that looks like when they play out. They just won the Western Conference Finals at the time of this interview. Scott Van Pelt is going to ask Shea hey, how are you able to be so stoic? Here's what he says.
Yeah, we don't ever play the score. We play possessions. We play to our standard every possession, and we try to win every possession.
Think about that. They don't let anything bleed over, and that is a skill that you can develop.
One of my favorite sayings, and something you guys will hear from me: turn the scoreboard off. You got to turn it off. It's on to guide. There's a clock. That's how the rules work. But turn the scoreboard off, right? It's about how you play. And it's not what's the score up there. And then when it's over and it's done and you win and you lose, we assess, we learn from it, we grow from it, we move on real quick because the next one's coming and it's going to be 0-0 again. That's a different mentality. That's a champion mentality.
But they have to be able to see it from you in order to do that. And here's another great example of what that sounds like. This is after Game 4. They just won. Listen to the locker room interaction after the win.
We walked right in the locker room, remember, it was like 0-0. Just like that? Yeah, just like that.
That is the law of competition. And the way they approach competition is whatever the score is on a Saturday night is the score. The only thing that's guaranteed is when they play at 7:30 p.m. on Monday, the score is 0-0. So the quicker they can get to 0, the higher the competitive advantage is because they are now working on what's going to happen for sure on Monday. Now, again, we're going to go to Jalen. This shows you how present-minded they are. This is right after he scored 40 points in the game. Listen to Scott try and drag him into the future. Watch what he does.
What's the sense of what your group will need come Thursday night to try to get your first championship here for your fans in Oklahoma?
First off, recovery.
First things first. Think about how disciplined you are to have that mind.
First things first. Today's practice. And then recovery and sleep tonight. And then First Baptist. And that's what a process is, right? This is how you put process over being a state champion. It's one day at a time. Be where your feet are. Do you think that those players were able to talk like that and had that mentality in preseason? It took the entire journey to then get to that NBA final in the very end with nothing but composure. Think about it. Imagine what it'd be like to play for the NBA finals and be an NBA champion. I want to talk about emotions. But those guys right there, those professionals, were so brainwashed about the process that it didn't overwhelm them. And they were able to maintain that composure, that clarity in the biggest moment of their life. And then you win and outcome the emotions, right? And then you you flip the ultimate switch of emotion on. That's I'm a champion, right? But until then, starting weeks, months ago, and all the way through to March 6th, it's got to be where my feet are. This is the most important moment right now. Okay? All right, I've taken enough